When I was 12, maybe a little older, I was waiting for my ride after school one day when this big white family van pulls up in front of me and asks if I'm waiting for my ride. My family had a van just like this one, so it wasn't suspicious or anything to me. I was dumb and didn't register that, yeah, I am. And he was asking an obvious question because there I am sitting outside the school by myself. I answered anyways. He asked what my name was. I hesitated, but he explained that he was looking for someone, so I gave it. I told him my name was Tia, and he said, "Oh, so it is you. Your mom asked me to pick you up from school." He introduced himself as Sam, my mom's nephew. I never really met my mom's family, so I was none the wiser. Area home and out of the cold, I didn't question him much, even though I was skeptical. I just jumped in the car, and thinking back on it now, I realized how dumb I was, how lucky I was to get away. I got in and we started driving towards the opposite direction of my house. First I thought no big deal of it because there was a route this way to my place, but it was just farther. As soon as we were passing that route too, and out of nowhere I realized we were on the motorway. Now, all traces of tiredness had left me and I was on the edge of tears. I asked him if he could please take me home, that if my mom sent him, then he should know I'm not really allowed to go out after school. But he just kept ignoring me. At this point I was officially bawling my eyes out in cars that were passing us on the motorway, standing next to us, traffic were starting to stare. At one point I was cried so much he slammed his hands on the steering wheel and started mumbling how this would be easier for both of us. I would just shut up. And now I wasn't thinking straight. I knew that anything would be better than making it to wherever he was taking me, so the next time the car slowed, I unlocked the door and jumped out. In all honesty, I wasn't thinking at all, because if I bought about it, I would have chickened out, and for once, I thank God that I didn't. I hit the ground, landed on my left leg. It was so bad, but I didn't care, because in my head, anything was better than being in that car. Dude didn't even bat an eye. Like in the chaos, I seen him try and grab me, but once I was outside, he just sped away. He almost hit me, but stopped just in time, got out, and ran toward me. Police were called, and my parents as well, but to this day, I'm not allowed to wait outside anywhere, even before I'm done with whatever I'm doing. My parents will be waiting outside. So to Sam, the stranger, let's not meet again. My childhood best friend, Mary, and I were around 11 or 12 years old at the time. Mary's family had their own campsite in a provincial park about 2 hours from our hometown, and spent the entire summer each year living their camper out there. This particular summer, I was able to go stay with them for a week. We were excited to spend our time adventuring around the forest. And last night that I was there, we decided we wanted to hurry down to the ice cream shop by the lake before it closed. It was early evening at this point, still pretty bright out, but beginning to lose light. The path we took was down a short slope right next to the main road, maybe 10 feet of thick brush and trees in between. On the other side was the forest, with more tall, thick brush. So we were walking along, not seeing a single other person on the path in front of us or behind us. We hear a sudden rustling and snapping of branches, similar to the sound of maybe a deer moving through the woods. I wouldn't have thought anything of it, but then the sound of running footsteps follows. Mary glances back and suddenly grabs my arm, urging me under her breath not to look back. At the same time, the running stops. I don't know why I didn't ignore her and get a look at myself. I guess I could sense the very real fear in her voice and chose to listen. We both start to panic, getting that feeling like we were running up the stairs after turning the basement light off. We pick up speed as much as we can without breaking into a sprint, knowing the ice cream shop is only about a minute walk away at this point. Fast soon breaks and we are in a parking lot. Suddenly, Mary steers me hard to the left, heading towards the lake and the boat rental instead, continuing straight to the ice cream shop, and I go along with it silently, understanding ice cream is no longer an interest right now. Mary's clearly panicking at this point. We're both looking around, but it seems whatever scared her was nowhere in sight at this point. Mary walks up to the boat rental and gives us a kayak. Climb in and begin to paddle out into the middle of the lake. As we paddle, she tells me that there's a man behind us, and that the man had stopped running at us very abruptly upon making eye contact with her. He had been wearing a long black coat with the hood up, despite it being the middle of July. He had a terrible smirk on his face, and she swore that as he stopped running, she saw him put something shiny away in his coat. He appeared to have just emerged out of the bushes after we walked past, given the sounds we heard right before he came running onto the path. We just sent the lake stopped paddling. Pull out my Nokia brick phone that my parents had, thank God, given me, just in case. I handed it to Mary, told her to call her parents to come pick us up. As the phone rings, she looked out past me to the shore and go pale, taking a hand to point to what she's seeing. I turned and there was a man, stalking his way around the path that circled the edge of the lake, staring out at us. We sat in the middle of the lake and watched him do 2 full laps, never looking away from us, before finally disappearing. Took a few tries to get a hold of her family. We were freaking out so bad the whole time, as the sun got lower and lower. We did manage to have someone come with the truck. By the time we reached the shore, it was pretty dark outside. I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't been able to call for a ride. Looking back, I don't know why we didn't just go up to the ice cream shop and inform an adult there and ask our parents to come get us then, but it worked out. We got back safe, and we thankfully never saw the man again. When I was 10, my parents and I went to visit my grandmother for spring break. My cousin also came to visit, and we decided we wanted to go to the YMCA for the day. My grandmother dropped us off and said she would come pick us up in 4 hours. On that day, the YMCA was empty. There were a couple of adults in the exercise room, but that was it. We went to the basketball court, and after 2 hours of playing tag and shooting baskets, we were bored. I'd never been the biggest fan of swimming, but this YMCA had a pretty cool pool, so we changed into our bathing suits and headed in there. The pool was empty, except for the lifeguard. We played a bunch of games and swam laps, but after about an hour, there wasn't much left to do. There was no one except us to hang out with to keep things interesting. So we decided to play a game of seeing how long we could hold our breath underwater. We stood in the shallow end near the clock on the wall so we could time ourselves. Instead of submerging, we just stuck our heads face down in the water. We did this a couple of times, and I was winning. In our last round, I felt the tap on my shoulder. I figured it was my cousin giving up and telling me that I won. But instead, it was the lifeguard who told me to knock it off, or she was going to have to ask us to leave the pool. Since we were tired of being in the pool, we figured we could get out and get dressed, and go back to the basketball court until my grandmother picked us up. We only had an hour left anyways, and the water was freezing. As we get out, the lifeguard stopped us and asked if we wanted to go into the sauna to warm up and dry off. The sign said 18 years or older, so of course we were super excited that she allowed us to do that. She walked us to the sauna and locked the door. The door was glass, and the interior was made entirely out of wood. Inside, above the door, there was a clock, probably to help make sure you were not in there for an unsafe amount of time. The lifeguard stand was adjacent to the sauna, but if you looked out the door, you could clearly see it. She followed us in and went over to the thermometer, encased in plastic, and unlocked it so she could crank up the heat. I figured that she must have to turn it on each time, so I didn't think anything of it. Both my cousin and I were very short girls, so we couldn't see the thermometer that was printed on the thermometer knob, but I know she was turning up the heat. Then she left and shut the door behind her. I thought I saw her lock the door too, but I thought to myself, why would she lock the door? We might want to get out. I checked the clock and decided we should get out in 10 or 15 minutes. It was already plenty warm in the sauna, now the room was blazing. It felt nice because it was so cold from the pool. After about 15 minutes, it started to get a little bit too hot. My cousin agreed that we should leave so we could get dressed. I went to turn the knob on the door, but it wasn't budging. I thought maybe it was jammed, so I shook it, but it still wasn't opening. Then I let my cousin try. She couldn't get it open either. We figured the lifeguard would be back in a couple minutes, so we sat back down and waited. The room was getting hotter now too, and I really wanted to leave. I got up and started banging on the door, and shaking and twisting the knob, trying to get the lifeguard's attention. My cousin got up and joined me. We started screaming at the top of our lungs for her to let us out, but she just stared straight ahead. I don't think there's any way that she couldn't have noticed or heard 2 little girls banging and kicking the door and screaming. Now we had been there for about 25 minutes. It was so hot in the sauna that it hurt to breathe. I felt like my lungs were on fire. My eyes and skin were burning. We sat back down and put our towels over our heads because they were so damp, and it made it easier to breathe. I was worried about my cousin as she is a couple years younger than me. I looked at the clock and saw that we had been there for 35 minutes. I got up and walked to the door again, so the lifeguard was still just staring straight ahead. Again, I tried to get her attention by screaming that we needed out, and banging on the door as hard as I could, but still nothing. I was starting to get pretty dizzy, so I went to go sit back down. The wooden seats of the sauna burned my skin. My towel was completely dry, so I put it underneath me to sit on. My hair was also dry, but I wrapped it across my face to cover my nose, squint my eyes so they didn't burn as bad. I could still watch if anyone walked past the door. It helped a little bit. My cousin was laying face down with a towel over her head, not moving or saying anything, so I nudged her to make sure that she was still okay. She was, but I could tell that we really needed to get out of there soon because she seemed a bit disoriented. It's been 45 minutes now, and I was completely nauseous. There was no way the lifeguard would forget that we were in there. I thought she would have to come back soon, but there was this little voice in my head telling me that maybe she had purposely locked us in there. Finally, a man walked past the door towards the pool. For some reason, I just couldn't get up. My whole body was on fire and I felt so dizzy. Luckily, this man wasn't going to the pool. He wanted to be let into the sauna and came back with a lifeguard. I saw them walking this way and I immediately jumped up to grab my cousin. I knew now that for sure she had locked us in there, so she pulled out her key to unlock the door and let the man in. I didn't want to take any chances of us being trapped in there any longer. So the man was trying to walk in, I was trying to shove our way out. So we were going out, the lifeguard started trying to shut the door and push us back with it. The man was clearly confused about what was going on and said, I think they went out. The lifeguard let out a sigh and opened the door fully. We ran away as fast as we could into the changing rooms. He only had about 10 minutes before our grandmother was supposed to pick us up. We were both so shaken by what had just happened, we didn't say anything to each other as we got dressed or were on the car ride home. When we got back to the house, my parents were making us dinner. I told them the story of what just happened. They thought that I must have been exaggerating and they didn't believe me. I truly think that woman was going to let us cook alive in there. The only bit of doubt that I have is what would have happened if we actually died. She obviously would have gotten the blame. What was her endgame? I'm 21 now, but I think about this interaction all the time. When I'm in small places or I get too warm, I still have panic attacks. No one believes the story, and I get it. It's pretty absurd. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to ask for opinions, but do you think that this could have been some crazy misunderstanding, or do you think that she really just let us in there die? And why? So to the lifeguard at the YMCA, please let's not meet again.